everyone, it's Alyce and I'm here today to discuss the 10 best and 10 worst books I've ever read, according to Goodreads. So I was inspired by megwithbooks to do this video because I found it really fascinating seeing what books she's read that are the highest and lowest rated according to Goodreads, and the way that some of her favourite books of all time were in her lowest and some books that she didn't really think that highly of were in her highest. So I'll link the two videos that she did down below. And hopefully you'll enjoy them just as much as I did. So Sean has made this handy dandy slideshow for me while I've been at work today, and I'm going to go through it and I'm going to look at the worst books I've ever read. So from the 10th worst book to the actual worst book, and then the 10th best book to the actual best book. So let's run through this and see whether I agree or disagree with the general Goodreads opinion on these. He's also taken out all children's picture books because apparently most of them are just children's picture books, because obviously we've got 2 children and I rate the babies' books on my Goodreads. So it would have just been like loads of 5-star reviews for picture books when I was the only reviewer. That would have been pointless. So he has taken those out, but other than that we haven't played with this at all. So let's go ahead. The 10th worst book I've ever read according to Goodreads is How to Write Your First Novel by Sophie King. The average rating is 2.97 with 71 ratings. So this is pretty average. I'll be honest, I can't remember it at all. I read a lot of non-fiction when I worked at the library because I kept seeing them on the shelf when I was showing them and thinking they'd be really helpful and really cool. And not many of them stuck out in my mind. So this is probably not that great, or I would be able to remember it, because I can remember some creative writing guides I read, and this is not one of them. The 9th... Oh god, I'm surprised this wasn't higher. The 9th worst book that I've ever read is Me Being Me is Exactly as Insane as You Being You by Todd Hassack-Lowy, with a 2.92 average rating from 2,386 ratings. So this has been read by a lot more people and has been rated worse. And I don't blame people, because this is a novel in lists. And basically what happens is the main character's father comes out as gay, and the whole story is just him being like, woe is me, my father is gay. It's not really anything to do with you, and I would be more interested in the dad's story. And there's also like the worst relationship basically ever. Total Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and it's all just told in lists. So it's like him pining for this girl and like listing all the things he likes about her and listing all the ways he's going to try and impress her. And it's like 600 pages, but you can read it in like one sitting because of how quick it is. But it's not enjoyable at all. So the 8th worst book I've ever read is Whispers in the Dark by Chase J. Jackson. This has an average rating of 2.9 and has 40 ratings. I'll be honest, I don't really remember much about this one either. It's a ghost story. If you couldn't tell that by the ridiculously cheesy cover with the disembodied eyes floating above the besuited man. Oh, I also just noticed the font's got like a wiggly font behind it to look even spookier. Oh my god, it's so cheesy. From what I can remember about this one, it was a ghost story that was self-published. I definitely read it through NetGalley, and I don't think I liked it much, or I could probably tell you more about it. It obviously wasn't terribly bad, because I don't have a lot of bad things to say about it either. Completely forgettable. Probably deserves to be on this list. Now we'll go to the 7th worst book I've ever read according to Goodreads, which is The Dark Light by Julia Bell. This has an average rating of 2.89 across 132 ratings. I am not surprised this is on here. It's one of those bury your gays books when you've got like the lesbian couple are basically the whole point of the story. It's very much, it's a cult book. It's one of my bad cult books. If you haven't heard me talk about bad cult books before, they come up semi-regularly. I like the idea of reading books about cults. Most of them end up being terrible. This is one of those. So basically, there's a rebel girl who comes to this like island where her parents send her because she burns down someone's house, which is completely brushed over, by the way. It's like the first chapter is her burning down the house, and then it basically never gets mentioned again. It's not like, oh, here's the reason why I burnt down that house. It's just, I burnt down that house, damn it, now they've sent me to a rehab island. Okay, like, that would be a way more interesting story to me. But basically she turns upon this island and there's a cult there, and one of the indoctrinated girls starts experiencing feelings for her. Very insta-lovey, very cheesy. So they begin to explore a relationship, and then one of them dies in a really ham-fisted, ridiculously implausible, completely unnecessary way. I was raging. I was so angry. I also didn't like Massive by Julia Bell. I would not be surprised if this was also in here. I'm surprised this doesn't have more ratings because it was quite pushed when it came out. But don't read it. It's not worth it. So I'm glad that's on here, because if you're gonna do like queer rep, don't do queer rep just to like demolish it. That sucks. That really sucks. So the 6th worst book I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is So You Want to Be a Freelance Writer, Writing for Magazines, Newspapers and Beyond by Deborah Durbin. Again, rating of 2.88, ratings 8. So 8 people have rated this, and altogether it's added up to 2.88 stars. So, yeah, nothing to say about this one. Non-fiction is really hit or miss. I think it can either change your life or it can be the most boring thing you've ever read, and it can really not help anything. I don't remember this one, so I can't say that it was a recommendable one. The 5th worst book I've ever read, Hot Feminist by Polly Vernon, with an average rating of 2.85 stars and 288 ratings. This one made me rage. I have read a lot of feminist non-fiction. There are good ways to do it, there are bad ways to do it. This one, literally, the tagline is modern feminism with style, without judgment. You can't tell me that. This whole book is so judgy. Like, she's a skinny girl, and she is very judgmental about people of larger clothing sizes. She's very judgmental about plus size people. She might not think she's being judgmental, but it is very judgmental. I think I can remember it being quite queerphobic as well. I might be wrong about that, but the idea of like hot feminism is that you can be hot and be a feminist. Yes, you can. But if the only argument you have for that is, well, I'm really hot and a feminist. Okay, like, isn't this just you being like, I'm really attractive, love me, and my feminism? Like, the feminism definitely feels like the subtext. It definitely doesn't feel like the focal point of this book. Yeah, there's probably more. I've probably got a review for this one, so I might get Sean, like, if there's like more things that I've forgotten to mention, I might get Sean to put like screenshots on the screen so you can see what else about this annoyed me, because I can just remember being filled with rage. And people recommend Polly Vernon's more recent books, but I'm never reading another one by her. No way, Jose. Moving on to the 4th worst book I've ever read according to Goodreads, and that is The Girl's Guide to the Apocalypse by Daphne Lamb. This has an average rating of 2.67. They are plummeting, and 150 ratings in total. This is again a independently published book. It's an apocalypse story, and there's a girl who is the lead character, and she is just hateful. Absolutely hateful. I'll be honest, I can't remember much about it. Again, I think my brain has managed to successfully wipe most of these awful books from its existence, which is good. I can remember it kind of not really going anywhere. I feel like it was one of those ones that had a great premise, but it didn't actually, like, there was no execution whatsoever. It was just like, oh, it's the end of the world, and yeah, I'm a girl. How will I survive? Honestly, it still makes me feel a little bit like, ugh, when I see it. So there's definitely reasons that I didn't like it. I just can't tell you what those reasons were. This is the problem with doing this, when most of these books are ones that I read like 2015, 2016. That's 5 years ago. My brain noggin can't hold on to that many books for that long, especially when they're bad ones. Book number 3. The third worst book that I've read is Daniel Taylor and the Dark Legacy by Monica Davis. This has an average rating of 2.5 and it has 2 ratings total. And I think I gave it a 1 star and the other person gave it a 5. If I'm right. There's only 1 review. That's definitely going to be my review. It's part 1 of 3. This was like a book that was split into parts for some reason, and I didn't know that when I requested it. So that also didn't help, because obviously I was expecting a fully fleshed story. I think on Goodreads, no, on NetGalley, it just had the cover and it didn't say that it was split into parts. So it wasn't until I got to like the end of it. But why didn't I like this? I only read this one 2 years ago, because I can remember reading it while living here. I guess there's a guy called Daniel Taylor and there's some kind of dark legacy, but this is one of those books that I would have only requested because it had a butterfly on the cover, because books with butterflies on the cover never normally lead me wrong, and I'm beginning to learn recently that yes, they do. I just hadn't read enough books with butterflies on the cover. I'd just been buying them all, not reading them, and I'm now experiencing eternal disappointment when I pick them up. It's also got a little dragonfly on it though, that's cute. I don't know why I didn't like it. Probably because it was weirdly split. I don't really get that. I have a feeling it was like very chosen one tropey, dark legacy that you've got to defeat, and I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I don't mind tropey when it's done well. This clearly wasn't, or I would be able to remember, and more than 2 people would have rated it. The second worst book I've ever read according to Goodreads is Living with Less, How to Downsize to 100 Personal Possessions by Mary Lambert. This has an average rating of 2.24 and 199 ratings. So again, non-fiction. Not surprised there's a lot of non-fiction on this list. I feel like this one's probably been rated more harshly because people love Marie Kondo so much, and I read this around about the time when the Magic Art of Tidying Up was experiencing that massive surge of popularity, and everybody wanted to just spark joy with their belongings. So straight up minimalism guides were probably getting rated a bit more harshly because they weren't by Marie Kondo. I remember this one having nice illustrations. I just don't feel as though it can have given me any life-changing advice, because as you can see by all these books behind us, we quite clearly still have more than 100 possessions. I also think it was cheating. It wasn't like 100 possessions, it was 100 categories. So it was like, you can have like, in your kitchen, you need to have like a kettle, a toaster, mugs, plural, but it would count as like mug as one item. So if you had like 6 mugs, it would just count as mug. If you had like knives, forks, it would just count as like a cutlery set. So I feel like I can remember being annoyed because it was cheating quite a bit, because it's like, oh yeah, you just need 100 items. In these 100 categories, you'll actually get like 700 items. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I think I can remember feeling quite misled by it. But who knows? It's been too many years. And now let's see what the worst book I've ever read according to Goodreads is, because this could get juicy, or this could just be like another non-fiction, and I'll be like, I'll just stop reading non-fiction. The worst book I've ever read on Goodreads is... Sean's put a little slide in there saying to remember to subscribe, which is really, really cute of him. He's just put, remember to like, comment and subscribe. So I guess now is the time for some self-promo. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. So if you're enjoying this video and you don't like cheesy interruptions in the middle, because we've never done this before, But yes, please subscribe to us. We love you. And now the actual worst book, thank you, Sean, for throwing me off, is Critical Issues, Mary Shelley by Graham Allen. So it was non-fiction. And that has an average rating of 1.5. Oh my god. And it has 2 ratings, so I'm obviously one of those. And it has 1 review as well, so I'm probably the only reviewer on this one too. I'm going to say, this might be a controversial point. Sorry if you don't agree. I'm going to say it's probably because it's a guy writing about Mary Shelley, because there are so many amazing female biographers who have explored Mary Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Shelley's relationship and the kind of connections between them and Mary Shelley's impact on the romantic movement as a whole and her impact on Gothic literature. Like, there are so many people who have explored all of those things, and Graham Allen obviously didn't do it well. And I feel like it might just be because, yeah, like, she's very much, like, there are a lot of things about Mary Shelley that you can have more empathy towards if you are a woman. I might be wrong. It might just be that it was awful. I can't really remember, if I'm honest. But the really good Mary Shelley biographies that I read and I can remember were all written by women. So that might be Graham Allen's problem. Sorry, Graham Allen. But your book is the worst book I've ever read on Goodreads, so maybe you should be apologising to me, huh? So now, we're going to go on to Alyce's top 10 best books that I've ever read on Goodreads, excluding picture books. And I'm nervous. I'm more nervous about the best books because the worst books were kind of predictable. It was like self-pubbed or independently published, or it was like non-fiction text that not a lot of people have read. The best books are going to be ones that, oh no, what if it's loads that it's just me? Like, I'm the only person who's ever read it and I've given it 5 stars. Oh, that's going to be so annoying. I'm totally skewing these results. That's fine. It might be loads of really, really popular books that I just agree with opinions on. So we can hope. I'm nervous. I'm more nervous about the best than I was about the worst. But let's do it. The 10th best book I've ever read on Goodreads is... Okay, Death in the Spotlight by Robin Stephens. And this has an average rating of 4.54. Amazing. And 2,697 ratings in total. I love Robin Stephens. She is the author of the Murder Most Unladylike series, and this is the penultimate. I don't know why I'm looking around like my shelves are in order. My shelves aren't in order. I have 2 children less than 4 years old. It's not the penultimate one, it's the one before that. So it's the book before the last book in the Murder Most Unladylike series. And in this one, Hazel and Daisy are working at a theatre in London and they're doing a Shakespeare play. And I love theatres, I love London, and I love Shakespeare, and I love Murder Most Unladylike. So this was the perfect combination for me. There are also some queer themes in this one, which are explored for the first time in the series, or like overtly explored. They've been like hinted towards before, but like other exploration of queer themes and growing up and sexuality, and I can't rate this more highly. I gave this 5 stars. This is my favourite book in the whole series, and I've read every book in the series multiple times at this point, apart from the recent short story collection, which I still need to squeeze in at some point over the next couple of weeks. But I loved this. This should have been my best book. So I'm now kind of hoping Sean's messed up the order of the spreadsheet. I'm so happy to see that on there. Robin Stephens deserves more love. So the 9th best book that I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is Against All Gods by Maas Evans. An average rating of 4.54 and 359 ratings in total. This is the... I want to say it's the 4th and final book in the Who Let the Gods Out series. If you haven't heard of this series, it's a brilliant middle grade series about a boy who lives on a farm. Pardon me. And one day a girl like crash lands in his back garden. And he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm not quite sure. And things have like occurred. She's been cast out of like the pantheon of the gods because she's done... What had she done? Oh, that's kind of spoilery. I can't say what she's done. But yeah, basically he meets this girl and then all of the gods come into his life. And he's got family issues and they give him a sense of family that he's been lacking. And this one is heartbreaking. This is my favourite out of the whole series. If it's the last one. It's definitely the last one. Favourite out of the whole series, and I think it was brilliant. The way that certain topics were explored. Because it was so late in the series that you were already so attached to these characters, you knew that you were expecting quite a funny, light-hearted story, and then some darker themes are introduced, which I think is brilliant in middle grade because it shows the way that life is. You can be having a whale of a time and then something bad can happen, and you can still have that happiness in you, and you can still get back to that happy place, but bad things do also occur. And middle grades that just have it that it's only good things going on and it's all like rainbows and unicorns, there's a place for those. People do enjoy those, but I don't feel as though they're quite realistic. And that was one of the things that I always struggled with when I was younger. I read a lot of young adult and teen books when I was still in primary school because I liked exploring the darker themes, and I felt like most of the books that were aimed at my age didn't do that. So if you do like a book that has like the wacky wild funniness of middle grade, but it also has darker themes and more serious issues that are explored, highly recommend this series, particularly the last book. And this really deserves to be on there because it was a great ending. If it is the last one, it's definitely the last one because they were orange and then it was blue and then it was green and then it was purple. Yeah, it's definitely the last one. This totally deserves to be on here. I still want to read Vice By, which is Maas Evans' new book. I haven't had a chance to pick that up yet. But yeah, if you haven't looked at reading Who Let the Gods Out and you like funny middle grade, just do it. Grab it. Definitely a good one. The 8th most popular book. The 8th best book. Not most popular, because that would be like based off of number of ratings, and this is not that at all. The 8th best book I've ever read according to Goodreads is... Oh my god! Project Hail Mary? Ah! Okay! Oh my god, this so deserves to be on there! Jesus Christ! Okay. Control yourself, Alyce. Calm. Breathe. It has an average rating of 4.55. It already has 112,316 ratings, and this book has been out for 3 months. That is amazing. That is testament to how brilliant this book is, and that is testament to how brilliant Andy Weir is as an author. I haven't read any of his other novels, so they might not be as good as Project Hail Mary, but Project Hail Mary is already one of my favourite books of all time. And I've only just read it, and it's only just been released, and I already want to reread it because it is that good. It's that good. So in Project Hail Mary, there is a project called Hail Mary. Basically, there is this thing, like a kind of film, growing between Venus, Mercury, and the sun. So, like, the sun's rays aren't getting to Earth as well as they used to because there's, like, this film appearing. So, crisis, because the Earth's gonna get less sun, so the Earth is gonna get colder, there's gonna be another ice age, we're all gonna die, and this poor guy gets roped into helping out. But when he wakes up, he has no memory of any of this. He's just on a spaceship, and he's just like, what do here? What do? And then he eventually, gets some of it back. I don't feel as though anything that I've just said is spoilery. If it is spoilery, I hope Sean will have blocked it out. But, yeah, he eventually begins getting his memories back. He finds out who he is. He finds out what his place in this whole scenario is. But it's just brilliant because it feels really cozy and comfy. Like, it's literally an interspace adventure with, like, the whole world is at risk. Like, lives are at risk. It's basically the apocalypse. The world is ending. But it's so cozy and comfy, and it just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And it's about the importance of friendship, and I love it. I love it so much. I love it so, so much. And if you haven't read it yet, and you're not interested because you're like, oh, everybody just goes on about Andy Weir because of The Martian, I don't care. I haven't read The Martian, and I still love this, and I'm going to read The Martian, obviously, one day, and I will hopefully love that too. But don't read it because of who the author is. Read it because it's a fucking good book. It's so fucking good. I'm so happy to see that on here. Okay, I was not expecting anything that recently released to feature. I'm so happy. That totally deserves. Okay, so the 7th best book I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Gross. To be fair, best Harry Potter book I've read out of the 3 that I've read. Rating 4.57, ratings 3.1 million. Well, 3,174,768. Yeah, you know what happens in here. There's a boy, he goes to magic school. In this one, there's a prisoner from somewhere called Azkaban, and he's like escaped, and there's like a flying thing that they ride. If you can't tell, I don't really care for Harry Potter that much. I don't really remember much about it. I've read this twice or 3 times, and I still just don't really, I just don't absorb it. I didn't when I was younger, which is why I never carried on with the rest of them. Something about this and my brain just does not gel. Sorry, because I know how popular these are, and the other 2 that I've read are probably going to be on here as well. But I think I gave this 3 stars, and then I decided to put all of my ratings for J.K. Rowling's books down to, like, no stars. So I've got them on my read, but I haven't got them rated because I don't agree with her as a person. It's fine. It's okay to not agree with people. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm more disappointed in myself for not expecting this to be here because I just didn't even think of it because I forget it exists. Right, okay, the 6th most popular book I've ever read according to Goodreads is Well, Strike Me Down, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, with a rating of 4.59 across 527 reviews. Ratings. I thought this would be higher. I didn't think this would be 6th. I thought this would be like 2nd or 3rd. I really enjoyed this actually. I liked the first book when I read it first time. Gave it 5 stars. Reread it last year and struggled to get through it. Put me in a reading slump. Was completely turned off. Couldn't believe I'd given it 5 stars in the first place. And then we carried on and read A Court of Mist and Fury anyway, and I was blown away. Like, there are so many, pardon me, hiccups. There are so many discussions about PTSD and depression and anxiety and social expectations, and I just love the way that she explores those themes in this fantasy world. It makes it feel a lot more realistic and it's a lot more relatable, and I feel like that is why people love these books so much, because yes, they've got the luxurious setting and they've got the Illyrian wingspans, but at its heart it's still a very human story. But yeah, I'm surprised it's not higher. I'm now scared again about what else is going to pop up, but that deserves to be here as well, just because of how much Sarah J. Maas, like how much good she's done by exploring those themes in a world like this and reaching people who would probably never be reached by those kinds of stories before. So that's really great. Glad to see that there. And yeah, I definitely gave that 5 stars. Even though I wasn't a huge fan of the sex scenes because I just think they're really cringe. Oops. Sorry if the sound went a little funny on the previous section. I've just gone to start and stop my audio track and I realised Audacity decided not to record any of the sound for the last 10 minutes, which is just audacious. But we're back now. This is the only problem with having the slideshow on the same screen as the software, because I can't see what's going on in the background. Either way, the 5th best book I've ever read according to Goodreads is non-fiction again. Okay, so what have I done? An honest memoir about surviving postnatal mental illness by Laura Dockrill. This has an average rating of 4.6 and it has 344 ratings. I loved this. I started this one night thinking I would just read like a chapter or so, and I've got a feeling I was about halfway through it when Sean came up to bed. It was like 3 a.m. He was like, "Why are you still reading?" I was like, I couldn't physically put it down. But Laura Dockrill has always wanted to have children. I believe she had some fertility issues, and so she had been really, really struggling to conceive. So it was like the greatest thing in the world when she did. But then when she gave birth, she actually ended up needing to go to a psychiatric hospital because she had postnatal depression. But it wasn't just postnatal depression, it was also postpartum psychosis, I think. So she was acting very differently to how she would normally act. She was like lashing out at the people around her. She wasn't bonding with her child, and it's so raw and so emotional because even though Laura Dockrell writes this in a place where she is out of that situation, she is better. She has recovered, but she is writing about her experiences to help people who may be suffering. And it's just so raw. Like, you can feel her going back into that dark place and revisiting the way that she was feeling after her child was born. And it's just heartbreaking, especially as a mother. I don't know if this would have hit me as hard if I didn't have the chunkies, but I cried and cried and cried. I don't remember ever being moved like this by a non-fiction book. Apart from recently I read Late Fragments by Kate Gross, and that did a very, very similar thing. But honestly, I'd read one of Laura Dockrell's books in the past, one of her fiction, YA, and I hated it. And when I saw she was writing adult non-fiction, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I loved this. This was the easiest 5 stars I think I've ever given. And if you are somebody who has an interest in like mental health surrounding birth and childhood, like childbearing and parenthood, definitely pick this up. If you are somebody who has children and might have struggled after they were born, pick this up because it does feel like talking to a friend. It feels like suddenly your deepest, darkest fears about yourself as a parent aren't that unmanageable. It definitely makes it feel like you can get back on top of things and that you can deal with things. Yeah, I loved this, and I'm glad that it's that high. That's really good. The 4th best book I've ever read according to Goodreads is Heartstopper Volume 2. Okay. I mean, it's got an average rating of 4.62 and 94,034 ratings. I can see why it's up here because everyone loves Heartstopper, and I did like the 2nd volume more than the 1st volume. I think I gave it 4 stars instead of 3 stars. I'm just surprised to see a graphic novel this high. I was not anticipating that at all. I sounded like really disgusted when it popped up, but it was more like surprise. I like Nick and Charlie's story. I don't experience the same level of hype that other people do, but I don't know if that's because I read the 2 volumes very close together. I haven't carried on with 3 or 4 yet. I haven't been like eagerly awaiting the next volume being released because I just borrowed the 2 from the library and read them both in the same day. But I did find myself more attached to the characters and more interested in the story towards the end of book 2, so I am interested in carrying on with the other volumes. I'm just really surprised to see a graphic novel on this list because I don't read that many of them. That's cool to know, though. The 3rd best book I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is Death Set Sail by Robin Stevens. Okay, this has an average rating of 4.63 and it has 1,780 ratings. This is the last book in the Madame O'Selene Dyke series, and it's glorious! It's such a good end to the series. I love it. I can't give you any spoilers. It's set in Egypt. You might be able to tell by all the Egyptian iconography on the cover. I'm not giving you any spoilers. You just need to know. I cried during the first page. I was like so excited to start this book. I was like, I'm finally going to read it. And then all the emotions at the end of the series just overcame me and I cried during the first page. I cried again in the middle. I cried again at the end. I cried during the wrap up when I reviewed it. This series just means so much to me and I didn't want it to end. And I'm glad I've still got the short story collection because if I'd already read that, I'd be like, oh no, it's over. And I'd probably be crying now. But also maybe that would be on here too. Oh, that would have been awesome. Honestly, read these books. So is that going to be the 2nd most? I'm going to have to count up now. I'm losing track because I'm getting too excited. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. The 2nd best book I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is The Eid Gift by S.K. Ali. This is an Adam and Zainab short story. Average rating of 4.64 and ratings of 381. So basically this is a companion short story linked to Love from A to Z. And it follows the two main characters later in their lives. Only a few months later. I don't know why I'm making it sound like it's like when they're grown up or anything. It's adorable. I loved it. It was brilliant. It started off as a free short story for SK Ali's newsletter subscribers. And then it eventually got released via Riveted Lit. I think, I can double check that, but I've got a feeling it's still up there. So you might be able to read this too. I might be able to link that down below. But it's just a really cute short story when you get to see the characters that you already love for a bit longer. And there's a whole thing with Cat and it's great. It's so cute. I'm really surprised to see this on here because of the fact that it was such a limited release. But thinking logically, that means that it should be rated that highly because only people who really loved Love from A to Z and really wanted to see more from Adam and Zainab would have joined the mailing list and read this short story. So I should have expected this. I'm just stupid. And the best book that I've ever read, according to Goodreads, is I hate myself. This is so embarrassing. Fuck. Oh no, what if it's loads that it's just me? Like, I'm the only person who's ever read it and I've given it 5 stars. To Perfect Punctuation, which has a 5-star rating and has 1 rating. I am the only person who's ever read this on Goodreads, so of course whatever I give it is gonna be its average rating, and I gave a punctuation guide 5 stars. That is absolutely mortifying. I hate myself. Well, if it helps, I can't remember anything about the Chambers desktop guide to perfect punctuation. So it really can't have been that good of a guide, and I still don't know how to use semicolons. So I feel as though this was a wasted endeavour. You have just wasted like 40 minutes of your life with me, and I am so sorry about that. Well, the best book I've ever read is about punctuation. And the worst book I've ever read is about Mary Shelley. That's insightful. I'm so... Next time I will tell Sean fiction only version, please, because the non-fiction has ruined this list. It's... Oh my god! I can't believe I gave a punctuation guide 5 stars. And I'm the only person that's ever bloody rated it. Oh, kill me dead. Well, thank you for watching this disappointing video. I hope that you are as embarrassed as I am, because I am fucking mortified. If you'd like to see more videos from us, please subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Give it a big old dislike if you hate punctuation, because quite clearly not many people do. Why do you put up with me? If you'd like to come back for less non-fiction videos, please do. We don't normally talk this much about non-fiction. As I said earlier, every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday for the new videos, so come back. And let me know what your best and your worst book on Goodreads are, and we'll find out who else rated that Mary Shelley book really lowly. I'm looking for you. I'm searching. Have a lovely evening, and thank you for wasting your time with me. Bye! Hey everyone, it's Alyce, and I'm here to discuss the 10 best and 10 worst books. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. That's really weird. Let's try that again.